That was my first change. Intervening from the floor, I don't normally do that, but suddenly realised that it might sound like I'm editor of the whole magazine, which is not the case, it's just the poetry section. So anyone who wants to complain about anything else, please contact someone else. I'm going to open with the poem that first came to me, that first sprang to mind when I heard about Poets for Change. Somalia was on television, and I'm ashamed to say Somalia was on television again. And I hadn't realised till one of the reporters went into it that the reason it's on again and again and again is because this year's actually the 20th anniversary, for want of a better word, of the civil war and unrest over there. And that's why nothing actually changes. Unsettling. We've seen it before. The scenes of drought-sucked Somalian children with flies in their eyes. Eyes that water, though throats are dry. Dry as red dust. The mother whose baby died inside while she trekked to find aid. She does not cry. She has no tears left to weep, and weeping will not feed her son. The hot sun has eaten her flesh. Flesh drained of moon milk, she has nothing left to bleed. Tapered ankles and wrists give her dark plight away. 4 unlit candle wicks. No wax to burn, her shoulders are bone coat hangers lined with skin. Coat hanger thin, draped in shrouds of cloth. Cloth lids too weak to blink. Flies' wings, cling film glaze her eyes. Her milky eyes gaze at nothing. Nothing is stiller than the flies. The flies move. Move us with how little changes here. But that too we have seen before, year after year, and still again, once more. It's National Poetry Day week, so I'm actually going to read a poem that I wrote for last year, not this year's National Poetry Day. The theme was home, and this one's a poem of change in support of the Helen Bamber Foundation's work to stop human trafficking. Silent traffic. On the floorboards, a red dress, gashes bare wood. Discarded stilettos flounder on their sides like crippled foals, struggling to stand. A ripped sheet is twisted like rope. The body that lies on the bed, uncovered, curves to the lumps in the mattress, coralled and rigid as a seahorse, even in sleep. Especially in sleep. When she awakes, her pillow wet with tears, red skin braceleting thin wrists. Her lips will struggle to remember the shape of words that have any meaning. So many kinds of change out there. And when I was preparing, I was struggling, still am, for how do you move from such serious subjects to something really quite light-hearted and fun, like the wrinkles and the bumps and curves that have suddenly appeared. And the answer is I couldn't in writing, but I do promise you that the other poems now are slightly less dark. Personal change is hard. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's found that. And it's also hard when someone you love won't change something that you really feel they should. Double bluff. Clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. When they met, he was chasing the ace to amuse her best friend's children. His preferred game is Texas Hold'em, though his natural luck stops short, runs only to Jack High. But he's good at bluffing, reducing speech to a flat line, turning rooms into a vacuum, sucking up everyone's breath. Even now, after 10 years, she can't tell. When he phones to say he's working late, she's never sure which way to bet, though she looks for telltale signs. Sidling eyes, shadowed smile, perfume of booze, scent, lipstick. All she can smell is aftershave and the hint of something else, undefinable. He promised once he would stop, but you can't change the marks on the cards. A seven's always a seven, a heart's a heart. If she'd been dealer, she'd have shuffled better. At worst, she'd have more odds on her side, a stronger position to decide whether to fold or raise. Change, yeah, hard. I find it hard anyway most of the time. But I try, as I've got older, to see it as a chance for new things. Elliptic. Alone, I watch the moon swelling and ebbing from the dark. A lunar footprint will last more than 10 million years, though there's no one to see it. My fingerprint on this paper's unseen, though I see its flesh, feel that move in loops. Only I've nothing to write. Viewed from here, our moon's textured sphere seems flatter than the world. But look again. Shapes evolve, colours change, shadows shift with our orbits, phases in the dark as time flits, clock face replicas. Still, traces are left, pages are filled. After the full moon dies, a new moon arrives. The biggest change in my life has definitely been children. I don't know if anyone else would agree with me on that one. Perhaps you've all got angels, if not. Instrumental. He is almost an orchestra. Air flute, trombone, guitar. His fat fingers pluck the beat from thin air. A one-boy band of Bohemian Rhapsody. Flash Gordon, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Words slither over him unabsorbed, but music surges through his cells in a flow of electrical charge. Strum bass, air organ, drum roll cartwheeling him rock style onto his back, with a wild fandango of limbs that twangs the strings of my heart. I don't often do family poems, honestly. I know it sounds a bit strange saying that, having just done one. For a change today, I'm going to do one for my dad. I've never done it before, but the more I was thinking about change and things I can't change about myself, the more I realised it's his fault. Also, I realised that thinking about about my dad and age, made me think about all the changes we don't want but we have to accept. Greying. I sketched my dad once, the only portrait I ever attempted. Clumsy and ungifted, the pencil moved too fast for my fingers. I was continuously telling him to stay still. Looking back, it isn't too bad a likeness. For a personality squashed to 2D. Now, unlike then, I scour the smudges, light and dark, for hints of common features. But the resemblances live in our movements, inflections of tone, gestures of the head, a shoulder twitch. Memory now sharpened to graphite. I tell him to never stay still. I'm going to finish with a couple of poems by other people now for the Poets for Change. Because I wasn't able to take part in anything live on September 24th, I had a bit of a chat with Helen, and between us we decided we'd do a bit of a web space on Facebook where people who couldn't take part could post poems or could post a taster of something they were going to take part in. And I think some of the other poets who posted there are going to read their own work tonight. I'm just going to share a couple by poets who aren't here reading themselves. The first is a Mirror poem, Split, by Jenny Hope. You move on. You pack your life, fold it down. It cuts your fingers. Your room is 3 sizes too small and stills your breath. The cold distance of miles keep tugging you back, stops you from tuning in to new voices. Your past re-enters as the door yawns open. One day, your old skin won't fit. This will happen. One day, your skin won't fit. Your past re-enters as the door yawns open, stops you tuning in to new voices. The cold distance of miles still tug you back. Your room is 3 sizes too small and stills your breath. It cuts your fingers. You repack your life, fold it down. You move on. The last 2 by the people are the kind of light-hearted poem that I really wished I could write as a poem of change, but unfortunately didn't manage to. The first is Thighs by Deborah, Alma. Oh, we must face the horror soon enough. Once I could get the lids from difficult jars with my thighs. Cradle injured birds fluttering. Wrestle attacking pigs with humour. And my thighs. Now, in the evenings, I rub butter along them, looking for signs. The next poem, and the last poem, is Change by Crosswell. Now, I haven't actually spoken to her about this poem because one of the things I really like about it is I'm not quite sure who the I personality in this poem is, and I don't really want to spoil it by asking her who she means. I see sometimes a banker counting up money gleefully, given the current state of affairs in the country, or a homeless person, or possibly just an impoverished poet. Change by Crosswell. Show me the money, and I will happily sit, counting your wealth of 2p's and 5's, discarding the dust and the pubes that have slid down the slot of your precious piggies bought. I will stack your whack in the tidiest, in the neatest possible piles that I could possibly create, licking my fingers as my reward. Eclectic, electric, tickle on the tongue. So when you reach in your pocket and grab a 10p, think carefully on where it ends up, or give it to me. Thank you.